bump into, let's say, Judith, and she's got a pocket full of dope, and she says, "Hey, Aaron, you want to go get high?" And I think, no, I'm not getting straight now. But the depression that's eating me up inside, and the thought of bills, and the thought of, the only way I can describe the feeling is that that I have to walk through a desert, miles and miles of a desert to get, time seems to last forever. And, I just can't fathom how I'm going to get out all the bills and everything. And the one thing that heroin does well, is makes you forget everything. When you're high on it, there's no, you don't think about the bills. You don't feel anything.
I am joy. I am tears. I am youth. I am age. I am life. I am death. I am a sunny blue sky. I am a green field. I am me. I am you. The song of life beats on.
Hello? Yeah. Okay. Are you going to the cat house? Why don't you go to Bellevue? Well, you really need to go into a hospital, Why don't you go into the cat house? It's not that bad there. You can make calls out of there. Well, you have two choices. You can go into a rehab, or you can try to stick it out. But you don't have a place to stay. So, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know what she'll do. Yeah, I think that'd be best, but I really can't, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm in the hospital myself, Judith, and it's, you really need to deal with this. I mean, it's a serious situation, and once you get in the hospital, it's going to be a lot better, Yes. Yes, please. Okay? Alright, I love you, okay? And it's not going to be bad, alright? It's really not. You have to do it. You really do. Okay? Alright. Alright, I really have to get off the phone right now, okay? But you know, you can call me later, alright, if you need somebody to talk to. Alright? Okay, I love you, Judith. You take care of yourself. Bye-bye. Her dilemma is she could possibly die from the withdrawal because she goes into seizures. She has problems with seizures. So she's in a very serious situation. I remember one day me and Benji were walking down the street with her, and we told her repeatedly not to take these pills. These pills, she always goes into a seizure when she takes them. Well, you know, she took, I'd say, I don't know, Benji said she pulled out about 15 Darvocets and about 10 Somas, which is like it's a derivative of Quaalude. It's a similar muscle relaxer. And we turned around and noticed Judith flopping on the ground like a fish, turning blue. Scared the living shit out of me, man. I remember when I met her, she was a really beautiful girl. Very, very beautiful. When I met her, she was 16, and I was sitting over at a friend's house. And I had dreadlocks at that point. I was a really pretty wild looking, punk, I was probably about 20. She was probably about 16 at that time. And I remember she walked up to me, and the first words out of her mouth were, "What drugs are you on?" I guess that says something about, kind of where she's at. She's got, a lot of problems outside. I can barely even sit and talk to her for more than a couple of hours. It makes me so upset to see her, and I'm a drug user too, but she's on a death trip. The thing is we all started out, we were all really, in the beginning, pretty nice. Not that we're not nice people anymore, but the drugs definitely screwed things up, beyond, I mean, that sounds stupid even. It's so mild, what I'm trying to tell you right now. When I turned around and saw her flipping around on the ground, I just thought, Jesus Christ, this is too much. This is really too much. We just told her not to take those things before she did. She didn't have to take them all. That's the situation that's going on now. I mean, I haven't seen her in 2.5 years, and that's an example of what drugs do to you. I mean, she's been out, probably selling her body and SF, and who knows, maybe she's got AIDS. Maybe she'll be dead soon, but I was looking through a shoebox full of photographs the other day of mine. She was smiling, I haven't seen her smile in a long time.
I hope you can recognize that that's where you're headed. I don't want to see you go there,
with me, it became apparent in the end that the drugs were going to take down the art, I really wanted to be a junkie in the gallery, in an opening, a junkie going out to whatever it might be. But I realized in the end there was no way that I could keep my mind on both those tracks, or even use drugs. I thought that I could use drugs to my better ability.
Down I crawl, clawing at what's left. The charred remains of the past. The ground making fun of my feet. The ground making fun of my feet. I stand waving my flag to the sky as reality closes in on my hopes. I touch the feeling once again. Under the skin it grows like a
there were times when you'd feel great oneness, and you'd feel like, God, I want to be like this forever. If there is a heaven, this must be what it feels like. And I don't think about that much anymore. I really don't think about what the drugs felt like. Because most of the time, they really didn't feel that good. But then there were those few times. When there were those few times, they were really incredible. I mean, it was... I used to go straight to my pen and start writing or drawing. That's always where I would go when I get that feeling. A lot of my artwork was done on drugs, and a lot of it was, I used that energy. I used it as a stimulant to produce work. And unfortunately, in the long run, that was what decomposed my work and made it look bad. I lost the definition, the defined line, or the ability to reflect what's going on in here. I think when I started doing acid, I really wanted to take what was here and put it onto the canvas. And when I do acid, it was like I could switch on in my mind and watch what was going on in my mind as if it was a movie. But now I realized that I was watching a movie. I was passive. I was observing. I was not interacting. I was it was pacifying. I wasn't producing my work. I was nodding out and slipping off into some sort of, imaginary world where there was no work, really. I really thought somehow the work would create itself, which it didn't, The essence of creating something is in the work. It's the doing it every day. Work is where you get substance or something that you create. You can't just sit back and turn on your mind and expect it to reel out paintings or drawings or poems or whatever. I was running around the city with my brothers. It was late. Things were getting very crazy. Lots of crime, drug dealing, prostitution. I, for some reason, was watching the scene of events where a young prostitute was shot in the stomach. Her school folder fell at the ground, left at my feet. I picked it up and ran. We went to White Castle, and some guy gave me a hard time about being, out on the bad scene at night. I realized the money in the purse was foreign and quite useless. We returned home. I looked at the folder, a drug addict's notes, drawings, death mark, bookmark. The book was about a guy who had cut his nose off and done great damage to himself in the name of art and death. He carefully documented it before his suicide. I read more of the notebook and began to fall in love. Infatuated with the prostitute's mind. Thank you. This is where I inject heroin, morphine if I can't get heroin, and Dilaudid if I can ever find that. That's probably the purest, cleanest, safest thing that I can inject, but it's the most expensive and it's very hard to find. The morphine is time-release morphine, MS Cottons, and they're made in a waxy substance. The waxy substance is kind of like a plastic, so when it's cooked down, it's not a good thing to be shoving in your arm, in other words. This is what the result of it is. People I know that have died of, I haven't known too many people that have died considering. I think it's amazing, that's what always surprises me. For as long as I've been into drugs, I don't know, I'd say I've been involved with some pretty hard drugs for about 8 years around people using hard drugs, and I don't know how many people. The deaths, the first person that died was Spider. It was kind of a street person. He had tattoos all over his face and missing teeth, and he never washed his clothes. His pants sort of adhered to his flesh almost. And he used to sniff glue and drink cough syrup and shoot up and just do anything. I met him, he used to panhandle around the streets of London, but he had a really strange sort of friendly quality. I don't know, he would always share things with me. And everyone sort of hated him, but no matter what, when he saw me, he'd give me money or whatever. He'd just give me food and get me drunk and get me stoned, whatever. He was always very friendly to me, and I think it was because I was an American, I don't know. But he was always nice to me. But this guy later died, and he had AIDS, and it was a particularly horrible incident. There was a young Irish girl there that was hanging out, and she wanted to shoot up for the first time. They had some morphine, and they were shooting up in my place, and they only had one spike, and I wasn't shooting up at this point, but he shot up and she shot up after him, and I remember that 3 years later she got really upset because she found out she had gotten AIDS from him. It happened right there in my apartment. It was the first time she shot up, and she shot up right after him, and I remember saying, I didn't shoot up really much at that time, but I remember knowing that you had to use bleach to kill AIDS, and it was inevitable that you would get it if you. I was kind of repulsed by the whole thing, just knowing she was shooting up without cleaning her
points out or anything. It freaked me out at the time, you know.
Wow.
But he later was found in a dumpster, you know, dead. He was getting sicker and sicker, and my friend said he'd walk around town, he had like sores all over his face, and parts of him looked like he had, you know, almost mold growing on him or
Oh
something.
my God.
This guy used to pierce he'd pierce himself with a nail. He'd take a nail and shove it through his nose. Then he'd take a ring clip from a folder, those folder ring clips, but they have just the rings without the clips to it, and he'd pierce it with a nail and shove that through there.
Jesus.
I mean, this extreme guy. I touch the cold window, pain, steam rises, inside it's cold, outside, no sleeping days, my body is shattered. I want to hold the gentle breeze in my hands, but my lungs are too greedy. Another guy that died, really nice guy, Nabi. He once wanted to get on the dole for me. He was going to sign on twice for welfare, just to, in his name, you know, get a different name and sign on to give me money to keep me in England so I could afford to live there, because I didn't have any way to work when I was in England, because I couldn't work legally. I couldn't get on welfare. This Nabi was like just a very nice guy, and he was probably one of the more friendly people I could think of, but he had shot up some heroin. Him and his girlfriend were going to split it, and he didn't do heroin very often. He'd do it once in a while. You know, it was just something he'd do for a thrill, for a kick. And he had gotten in a fight with his girlfriend. So he had taken all the junk and shot it all up himself, and he was going to split it with his girlfriend. Well, they went to bed, and he had drinking a fifth of vodka that night. And they went to bed, and when she woke up, he was blue, and he had brain hemorrhage, and there was blood all running down him. And she woke up the next morning, and he was just dead. And she was like snuggled up next to his cold body. And you know, when the parents went to identify the body at the morgue, there was crab lice on the body, and it's just really, it was, you know, really sad. And he wasn't a heroin addict. He didn't do heroin very often. He just did it once, and you know, it killed him like that. You know. I always really believed that, you know, ultimately I was not going to die. I really did, you know. Mm-hmm. Although I think ultimately I questioned that when I ended up in the hospital. You know, I did realize that maybe I could have died, but ultimately, I guess I have a feeling of well-being that even if I did die, that I'd still be around in some form or another. I really always have kind of felt that way since I was a child, but, you know, ultimately I do realize that, you know, life is a lot more fragile than I believed before. I've come once again to meet the end. Let's not lose it this time. Please don't find me. I hide behind the window. Please come home for the feeling. I crawl back inside. The wall is still. My heart is empty. I'll not go back to the woods.